HUD's committee will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Boyd.
Present.
Alderwoman Davis. Alderman Ornowitz.
Here.
Alderwoman Hubbard.
Present.
Alderman Coatar.
Here.
Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Boyd. Chairman Roddy.
Present.
5 present, you have quorum.
Thank you. Today, at each of our HUD's meetings, I like to try to tie together with what we do at the committee meeting with what our goal or mission is as a committee. And so we adopted as kind of our interpretation of our responsibilities or our mission is to facilitate urban development to maintain the economic viability of our city and improve the economic well-being of our residents. And those are not necessarily congruent goals. Some, obviously we need to have an economically viable city to provide services for our residents. And of course, part of our goal is to bring jobs and employment opportunities so that our residents can earn good livings and improve the quality of their life. So how do we do that? Well, we use planning and zoning to optimize our development opportunities that can be derived from our unique transportation, location, institutional, and other community attributes and competitive advantages. So what that means is by using planning, zoning, and transportation, the location of certain regional assets, those are all opportunities for us to create development opportunities. The last meeting we had, the bills we dealt with were zoning, and zoning is the essence of that. Today we're dealing with tax abatement, which is kind of the second of our goals, or our tools, and that's we use federal, state, and local economic incentives and programs to adjust for inefficiencies and weaknesses in our tax to service model. I'm sorry if I'm sounding a little pedantic here, at our meetings, but we have, I think, subject to a great deal of misunderstanding about what we do down here and why we do it. As a city, one of our big challenges is to transfer wealth. We have to figure out creative ways of taxing people who have money so that we can use that money to provide services for people who do not. Sometimes what ends up happening is when tax rates or opportunities come, we end up charging, we're not competitive for a variety of reasons. Obviously, if you have, as an example, a hotel room that's on the water, that's going to probably have a premium versus one that doesn't have a water view. And sometimes, for some businesses, you're going to end up having locations that are inferior, or you're going to have an amenity package that is inferior. Obviously, crime is probably central to all that. But what we're doing is we're adjusting the price, hopefully, and still making money, and then using that adjusted price to pick up business that we otherwise might not. Perhaps the most obvious example of getting other people to pay expenses for you is when somebody comes in from out of town, they pay taxes. When they have a rental car, they pay hotel taxes and a whole bunch of other things, and all those taxes help to provide services. So we have a number of hotel bills that we're going to be hearing about today. We're trying to get a little bit more creative in how we use these tax incentives, and that has resulted in development of an economic development plan, which we hope to have completed a little later this year. The way I like to think about this when we adjust our pricing is the old airplane example. You have an airplane that flies from St. Louis to New York, and if it's half full, it really doesn't cost that much to fill up the rest of the seats. So if you can figure out who's going to go ahead and pay full price, you can cut the price on the rest of the seats, and as long as you're making any money off of them, you're making more money than you would otherwise not make. So that's kind of the challenge for us here. But so today we're going to be taking up a lot of economic incentive bills, and I like to begin our committee meetings kind of putting in focus what we're meeting about and why we're meeting. The first of the bills that we're going to take up today is for the alderwoman of the second ward. She has a obligation that she needs to get to, so we're going to bring hers up first. Before I bring hers up, Just two quick announcements. There is a board bill that I have, so if you are here on board bill number 59, which is regarding the Cortex district, that was published, and that will be heard next Tuesday at 9 o'clock. Normally we have our meetings at Wednesday at 9. This will be next week, Tuesday at 9 o'clock. So if you're here for board bill number 59, feel free to leave. And I believe the alderman from the 7th wanted to postpone.
Yes.
Did we advertise? Did we?
We did, we advertised it, but if we could postpone Board Bill 71,
Okay, well, we will have to,
I can get up and just,
yeah, we'll have to at least have public testimony on that one, but that will not be voted on today, let's put it that way. With those announcements, why don't we go ahead and begin with the alderwoman from the 2nd, and it's board bill number 46.
one more.
I think we got everybody as in front of them. Proceed, alderwoman.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Board Bill number 46 allows a particular area in the 2nd Ward to obtain 10-year at 95% year tax abatement. There are several parcels in this area that are still vacant. A private developer was the initial developer, but now Habitat for Humanity is building on the remaining lots, and they have about 15 homes that they will build in this area. And I'll entertain any questions now.
So this is new construction then, is that correct?
This will be, there are some homes that are occupied now in the area that they built. And they're just finishing up the development there.
Alderman Boyd, any questions?
Just so that I can understand what extending the time actually means. So the work is already in progress?
They had some homes that were already built, and I guess there was an issue, so they stopped building, and now they're able to proceed with the rest of the homes.
Okay, but I thought tax abatement starts after they actually complete.
Well, let me get somebody up here
project.
to answer that.
Okay.
There were several projects, several homes completed with abatement started on those houses. Now, on these last 15,
Back, can you get closer to the mic?
sorry,
please?
these last 15 homes, the 10 years at 95% will be the amount of tax abatement that those homes will get.
So there was already a redevelopment plan for this land,
At
correct?
5 years.
For 5 years.
But since it's Habitat for Humanity, we're allowing 10 years at 95%.
So you're extending the tax abatement, not necessarily extending the years of tax abatement.
Correct. We're allowing a higher amount of tax
Okay.
abatement.
Gotcha. I thought we were extending the years, so, okay, I got it. Thank you. No further questions.
Alderwoman Davis.
No questions.
Alderman Ornowitz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So basically, this is just adding 5 more years to complete the 10, since it was already in place?
No, on the new construction, there'll be straight 10 years at 95%. The previous 7 to 8 homes received 5 years at 70% or something
Okay.
along those lines.
And this is on Lookaway Court. Is that like up Hall Street and sits up on a hill?
Off Riverview?
That way? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Alderwoman Hubbard.
No questions.
Alderman Coatar.
No questions.
That's all that's here. Why is this in front of our committee as opposed to neighborhood development?
Because there's several homes in the area that's occupied,
So it's and so we're doing an area-wide one as opposed to.
and in a previous plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I would presume that area would have been one of the more, I would have, based on the incentive map that we passed some time ago, I would have thought that that area would have qualified for.
Correct. It was done under a previous alderman, and it was done before the map.
Okay, so this would be now more consistent with what the map is?
Lines up perfectly with the map.
Perfect. Good. It's good to see that we're actually doing some of the things that we thought we were doing. If there are no other questions of the alderwoman from the second, the chair will entertain a motion that we pass out of committee Board Bill number 46.
I move that we pass Board Bill 46 with a due
Second.
pass recommendation.
It's been moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderman Ornowitz.
Aye.
Alderwoman Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderman Coatar.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Boyd. Chairman Rhodey.
Aye.
6 aye votes.
70-something, 71.
So we'll go ahead and get some of the procedural stuff out of the way here real quick. Alderman from the 7th, why don't you step up? And this is more of a formality. We have publicized this board bill. It will be heard Tuesday or at some future date, but
Correct.
right now
Yeah, thank you, Mr.
we've advertised it, so procedurally we have to at least.
Yeah, so this is Board Bill 71. It would be an amendment to the redevelopment agreement for 705 Olive, basically to take in the chemical building next door as part of a hotel expansion. The developer, Amy and Amert Gill, are still working through some numbers with SLDC, but we had publicly advertised this for today, so I wanted to at least get it heard technically. And if we could, I'd just ask to continue this until next Tuesday's meeting.
Thank you, Alderman. I don't know if we advertised it, do we need to, if there's anyone who cares to speak on that, I guess we need to
We
provide that
should.
opportunity. But hearing no speakers, then we will go ahead and consider that heard for the record. Additionally, there is a board bill that was not introduced. I guess that it is floating around, and procedurally, it also was advertised. It has not been introduced, nor assigned a board bill, nor do we have a sponsor. But evidently, we can still have a public hearing on that, and that is for a property located at 415 South 18th Street. If anyone, that address was advertised. If anyone cares to speak on behalf of address 415 South 18th Street, now is an opportunity to go ahead and do that. Okay, hearing or no one's acknowledged their interest in that so far, the record, we will consider that we have heard a pending board bill with a pending sponsor for I guess we actually do have a location, 415 South 18th Street, so that's considered officially heard. Now what we normally do is we go ahead through the agenda and we try to catch the folks that are not on the committee first with legislation, so we can permit the other older people who are here to go about their business. We have Alderwoman, I don't think Alderman Valmer's here yet. I do not see him. Alderwoman Navarro is. Alderwoman, you want to proceed?
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning. So I'm here this morning on Board Bill number 74. It's the last one there in your packets. And this is simply an extension of the construction deadline for the Northgate TIF. So this was a project that was previously approved back in 2017, and this is for a project at the corner of Delmar and Skinker. It's an exciting project, multi-use. There's retail space, office space, and there's just been several things over the last couple of years that have delayed the project. The developer's been very engaged with the neighborhood, going over back and forth over the designs to make sure that it's consistent with the loop. There was formerly a gas station on the site that had to be removed, and so there was a lot of complications in terms of making sure that that was cleaned up properly. So we are here asking for an extension. Originally, the The project was set for construction deadline of December 2019, and we were just asking to extend that through December 2020. I'm happy to take any questions.
Alderman Boyd, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Alderwoman Davis?
No questions.
Alderman Ornowitz, any questions?
No question.
Alderwoman Hubbard, any questions?
No questions.
Alderman Coatar, any questions?
No questions.
Hearing no questions, the chair will entertain a motion that we pass out of committee Board Bill number 74.
I move that we adopt Board Bill 74 with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
Previous roll.
Moved and seconded. Request for previous roll. Hearing no objections, we will consider Board Bill number 74 as heard and pass out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Thank you.
Is anybody
If Alderman Valmer comes in, we'll let him speak. Otherwise, we'll hold his till the end to give him the optimal opportunity to get here. Otherwise, we'll see if someone else can speak to his bill. Going through our committee by seniority, I guess Alderwoman Davis would be up next. Alderwoman, Board Bill number 55.
Good morning, committee. Board Bill number 55, I have passed out here for you. And there are 2 sheets that each person gets. Thank you. This development project I'm excited about. It's 2 buildings that I probably have asked every major developer to look at because we'd like to see it completed. It's in an area there, if you know, where we had the Gateway complex there that was put together by our former Earl Wilson, and another project around the corner there, which has not that far from a number of other nice projects that have been done recently, especially our loft developments and others. And then, of course, when you get over to Washington, you see almost everything done in the 1900 and 2000 blocks. So here at Martin Luther King and on Delmar, the buildings sit behind each other, and they kind of make like an L, if you look at it on your picture. Midtown STL Development Group are the proposed developers to make this project happen. The acquisition cost for those buildings was $1 million, and the construction cost will be 1.9. And the details for the renovation of the commercial buildings, which sit in downtown West neighborhood, will show you on your financial analysis that were done, that we're doing 10 years at 75% abatement. We currently have, what we're looking at, everything was based on a 30-year return on investment to the city. The project score out of 40 was 37.4. Project grade is 5 out of 5. This is one of those developments with an older building that, based on the development design, it does not have an exorbitant cost to make this make these useful properties again. So what I'd like to do is to allow the developer who's here to give us a few words, please.
Good morning. Thank you, guys. I am representing the owners. They're out of town, but happy to answer questions, can kind of tell you about the project. My name's Garen Lafser. So there's 2 portions of the project. There's property on Delmar, 1917 Delmar through 35. That is being turned into 4 retail spaces. We are currently working with a number of different tenants, breweries, restaurants, some creative users, some fitness users. So the plan is to completely turn this old warehouse into a creative, contemporary retail space. So they're seeking destination tenants, so a brewery, is going to be drawing people into that neighborhood. So they're excited about it. Then behind that on MLK is they have plans to create 6 restaurant spaces and develop kind of a food hall concept with some outdoor activities, as well as some event space in the rest of the square footage of the building.
Are you ready for questions? Alderwoman, Alderman Boyd, do you have any questions for the sponsor?
Sure. I guess for the gentleman representing the developer, so you the contractor, what's your relationship with the owner?
So I am their real estate broker, and I've been helping them along with development process as well.
So they're basically owner financing this project?
There will be lenders involved.
Okay. It's just unusual that there's no developer fee in the finances, so I thought that was...
So I am not the developer. They own and will develop the project themselves, so they're not going to charge themselves a fee.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Sounds like a neat project.
Thank you.
Alderman Ornowitz, any questions?
No questions.
Alderwoman Hubbard, any questions? Alderman Coatar.
No questions. Sounds like a good project.
Hearing no other questions, the chair will entertain a motion that we pass out of committee Board Bill number 55 with the due pass recommendation.
I move we pass Board Bill 55 out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Previous row.
Been moved and seconded. Request for previous roll. There is no objection to previous roll. Therefore, we'll consider Board Bill number 55 is heard and passed out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Thank you, Alderman. Congratulations on your project. I believe that brings us back to Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Hubbard, number 1. Two Alderwoman Hubbards down here now, so we have to...
Oh, I like that.
One was here first.
Hey, I have to abstain on her Board Bill 66.
I see you have a form, and if you vote yes,
Yeah, I'll just vote abstain.
yeah, we're good. Actually,
What's that?
yeah, we have enough.
Right?
Does everybody have the information in front of them on this?
Which one are we doing first?
66.
Board Bill 66. I know you have the board bill, but do they have the...
You got to pass out.
We got the pretty pictures?
You have extra copies. I have them,
Okay.
Oh, you already gave them to us. Okay. I got it right here.
I have it. I don't think that the...
We don't have it.
Alderwoman Davis and
We don't have it.
Arnowitz do not have it, however.
Thank you.
Oh, gosh, I had it. I was supposed to pass it down. Okay.
Here you go.
Okay, Alderwoman, go ahead, proceed, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I am here on behalf of Board Bill 66, which is the renovation of the Shell Building located at 1221 Locust. Just to give you a brief overview of history on the building, it opened in 1926 as the original corporate headquarters for Shell Petroleum. It's 112,000 square feet of interior space, 13 floors. The building has been listed on the National Register, and it has been more than 50% vacant for many years, which has created an economic liability. The developer of 1221C, their acquisition cost was $5.1 million, development cost $37 million. With this development, there'll be 191 new hotel rooms, 45 new jobs, and they're asking for an abatement of 10 years at 87%. And if anybody has any additional questions, someone here can speak to any of the things that I'm not sure of.
You know, I hate to just drop this on you, Mr. Director Williams, but I was hoping that perhaps we had met, I contacted you, concern of tax abatement for hotels and so forth, and I thought perhaps you could take a couple minutes and tell the committee your justification for this and what you're doing with the study and so forth to.
So good morning, rather. I'm Otis Williams, the director for SLDC. And given the interest that previously expressed by the board, we have undertaken a study to basically understand the need for hotels. But the preliminary reviews that we have had indicate that given the kinds of hotels that we see coming before the board, they're primarily the non-traditional full-service hotels, and the traveling public's demand for the boutique and not full-service hotels have been sort of in great demand. And what we found is that we are under inventory in that category as compared to other markets that we compete with, the Nashvilles, the Louisvilles, and Kansas City, and those. And so the kinds of products that are coming before the board here will be more in I call it the boutique and different category. But we will have the results of our study sometime this summer, right? Yeah. Matt is the project manager, Matt Bauer.
Yeah, I think we should have results of the study within a month, and the consultant is prepared to do a presentation to both the LCRA board and HUD's to kind of just to explain his results and his findings. So,
if I could just add a little bit, I think what the issue is you know, getting back to the idea of having a development strategy. If our goal is to try to get other people to pay some of the expenses of the city, we'd like to figure out how to get people from outside the city to help us pay for the cost of keeping the city. One of the best groups to do that, obviously, would be people coming in from out of town. And the question that I guess I and others raise is, if we are already subsidizing a convention center, we subsidize to some extent sports teams being here through their stadiums, we subsidize the Zoo Museum District, which is a source of tourism. You know, if we're subsidizing all those, where are we actually going to end up making the money off of somebody? And the idea would be is that we would hope that we would make it off the hotel. As part of this analysis, we have gone ahead and dramatically reduced some of the other taxes that we were waiving on hotels.
Right. And so, as many of you know, we undertook the incentive study, and since that time we have been very rigidly reviewing all of the performers, and we've ratcheted down in many categories the amount of incentives that we have traditionally provided. I said traditionally, and probably 4 or 5 years prior, we would have just arbitrarily provided just willy-nilly I shouldn't say that because we didn't. It was well thought out, but we now have numbers to support what we're doing. Okay, so that was a better way to say it. We now have numbers to support what we're doing, and our goal is to ensure that we have a return on investment for the city, as well as allowing a reasonable return to the developer. And so in all cases, that is what we're trying to do. And I think the concern is whether or not we are getting a return. And I fully understand what the chairman is concerned about. But I'm not sure that the market, St. Louis City market, is mature enough yet for us to realize all of those benefits. But we are trying to get that to a point where we have the kind of products that will make us competitive, continue, so we see that we have an outdated convention center. We have we're underrepresented in the kinds of products that drive conventions to an area, particularly now that we see the predominance of the traveling public for businesses more in the millennial category as opposed to folks in my age group and preferences. So I think we have to understand the kind of products that we are trying to provide.
And I want to be clear, I'm not being critical of what SLDC's decision is on these things. I was trying to play, I guess, devil's advocate or demonstrating or articulating concerns that I and others have. And I believe, in my opinion, that SLDC is aware of those concerns, and I think they're addressing them. Spent a fair amount of time with both Otis and his staff several weeks ago discussing this. And I know Mr. Ferry has spent a considerable amount of time taking a look at the profitability of these hotels when we start talking about reducing tax abatement versus some of the economic activity taxes. And you know, I'm speaking on behalf of him. He's here, but certainly feel free to step up. The thought is that we still make a considerable amount of money off of the economic activity taxes, and that a reasonable amount of real estate tax abatement, which is still less than what we would have done some years ago, is probably in the city's interest to do that. I'm kind of paraphrasing what you told me, Mr. Ferry, but hopefully feel free to correct me. But I wanted to share that and get it kind of on the public record so everybody's aware that there is a lot of thought and analysis that's going into what's going on with hotels right now in the city, and we have a number of them that are pending. And frankly, I'm looking for guidance myself because I certainly don't want to have. We have been getting some interest in my ward for hotels, and I'm not really sure what to tell people. So I don't want to have anything. So we Alderwoman from the 19th.
Right, and I do understand we have a lot of loud voices who say that our economic development strategies are unnecessary. There's no reason to develop anything any further in the city of St. Louis. Well, then the city will die, turn the lights off, and move somewhere else. We have aged infrastructure. We have the ability to do many different things here, but we also have a lot of people who have been visionary, and they have taken the risk to take very, very high loans to create activities that draw people to the city. And so I'm excited. I have 2 more hotels coming up because we also want to have the synergy in the mid part of the city where we can have smaller conventions, where people can walk from the various universities and Cortex and other places that do research. But when you look at the aquarium that's coming up, you already have City Museum, you have your sports teams, and a number of other things. Based on the study from the Convention and Tourism, we could be a larger city providing larger conventions, and that means a lot of money. This weekend alone should show people what can happen. Our coffers, are healthier because of this past weekend. And aside from that, there were a number of other things going on other than just the blues. And every hotel room was sold. So, you have to think broader, but we have to also balance everything. And I look at all of that. I mean, we have to make sure schools are good, crime is abated, a number of other things are taken care of. But you can't do any of that if you don't have income. And so I appreciate the fact that, yes, we are being extremely conservative in our abatement process, but yes, we do need a lot of new things to happen.
Okay, so why don't we, with that preamble, why don't we head through the committee here? Alderman Boyd, do you have any questions of anyone that has spoken?
Sure. Alderwoman, remind us what flag will be attached to this hotel.
What flag?
Yeah, is it a Hilton? Is it a?
I believe it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
You
sure.
here? Oh, good.
Come on up. Make sure you let them know who you are, sir.
Thank you. I'm Rob Preston. I'm an attorney at the law office of Spencer Fain, representing the developer. 1221 Locust. So this is going to be a dual-branded hotel, both Hilton products. Hilton is doing this really progressive program now where they'll put an extended stay product in a hotel with kind of efficiency rooms. Gives them a lot of flexibility in booking where they can create 1 and 2 room suites by opening an internal door between. They find it's better for filling up rooms, meeting the individual demands of guests.
We've done quite a few hotel bills over the past several years, and I'm amazed that we even have room to add additional hotels, which is exciting to me. But I am curious, what's the average occupancy rate around the downtown area as far as hotels?
I can't speak on a national average, but I know in St. Louis, the average has been hovering around 65%, I think is the occupancy on an annualized basis. From our perspective on this particular project, based on comps like Otis was mentioning, that there's some underserved market segments that we're trying to target, be it the extended stay one and also more economical target. A lot of the products that have come online or in the pipeline are at a higher price point. Based on comps like the Residence Inn by Marriott that's down on Jefferson and some others that are closer to between 70 and 75%. So we expect this one will have a compete favorably.
Typically, what would be an average day stay at the hotel? Price range, rather.
Oh, at this particular product?
Yes.
I'm going to introduce the developer, Kunal Modi, who's a little more versed in the business plan.
Hi, Kunal Modi. What was the question again?
The cost to stay, one night stay, for example.
That'll really be dependent on the market, but or what's going on in the market. But generally, we're looking around somewhere between 90 to about a 120 rate.
For an extended stay?
Yeah.
Wow, not bad. Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Alderwoman Davis.
I really don't have any questions, thank you.
Alderman Ornowitz.
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Coatar.
No questions, Chairman. Just wanted to point out that I'll be abstaining on voting on this board bill. My firm has been obviously retained to represent the developer.
Before I call for a vote, I've been a little negligent. I should be doing this every board bill that involves any incentive. We have Mr. Ray here from the Representative Comptroller's Office. And has there been any of the bills that the Comptroller, that we've heard so far today, that the Comptroller has any objection to or?
I haven't had anything that I noticed, but I'm not really familiar with this particular project at all.
Well, I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Alderman, I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question.
I was just going to say, as the projects that we've been hearing today, has the Comptroller been advised and supportive of all of them, or you represent?
I have had none that I've heard of today that she would have an objection to, but I am not familiar at all with this particular project.
Okay.
Is that something automatic that the analyst should be asking from that department?
How have you, I just assume that someone in your office, not your office, but the Comptroller's office follows these things and
Well, it's kind of a long and involved story, but the short answer is I get involved in the tips, but I do not get involved in the abatements unless somebody asks me to, and nobody has asked me to. I mean, I don't know anything about it. I don't object to it, but I'm not knowledgeable enough to say.
Actually, as I reflect on it, I think our procedures do revolve around the TIFs. We're for TIF legislation that.
That's true.
I think our procedure said that for TIFs, we have the Comptroller's Office and the Budget Division if we're.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Well, why don't we go ahead and proceed on this then if it's just tax abatement. Is there any other questions or anything? If not, the chair will entertain a motion on this board bill.
I move to pass Board Bill 66 out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We will have a vote on this.
Alderman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderman Ornowitz.
Aye.
Alderwoman Hurbert.
Aye.
Alderman Coatar.
Abstain.
Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Odenberg. Alderwoman Boyd. Chairman Roddy.
Aye.
It's 5 aye votes and 1 abstain.
By our vote, we've passed out of committee Board Bill number 66. Congratulations, Alderwoman. I think that'll be a great project for that part of downtown. I have recognized, hard not to recognize, our colleague from the 10th Ward has joined us.
She has one more bill.
Oh, does she have another bill? We'll let her finish up then, and we'll put you on in just a second, Alderman. Alderwoman Hubbard, Board Bill number 72.
I believe pass outs are going around. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm here on behalf of Board Bill 72, which is redevelopment of the YMCA building at 1528 Locust Street. This will be another hotel. It's a museum hotel, something that would be very unique and the first of its kind in this area. It will include 185 guest rooms. The acquisition cost is $6 million, construction cost $48 million. It will be a historic hotel rehab. There will be 40 on-site parking spaces, and there are several different amenities that I believe will be an asset to downtown. It'll also include an art program, and if you look within that handout to see how this model has been done in other places, it definitely will be a welcomed addition to our city. And if there are any other specific questions, I'll take them, and then someone else is here as well. And they're asking for an abatement as well, a 15-year tax abatement.
How much tax abatement, Alderwoman?
90% for years 1 through 10 and 50% for years 11 through 15.
Okay.
Project scored 40 out of 40. That's amazing.
Are there any other incentives associated with this project?
I believe there are some historic tax credits and stuff like that, but I'll defer to the developers. They can come up and answer those specifics.
Good morning, Mike Everett. I'm with the Ownership and Development Team. We will be pursuing federal historic tax credits. We're also in the process of applying for state historic tax credits. The process, as I'm sure you're aware, has changed over the course of the last couple of years from the state perspective, but we are pursuing both. We unclear as to when we'll have a verdict or outcome on the state credits.
How about on the local level, will you be pursuing any sales tax exemptions or anything like that, or?
No.
No.
We intend to pursue a SID later on.
Mm-hmm.
And sales tax, thank you, Mark, sales tax exemption on construction materials.
Okay. Okay. Why don't we go through Alderman Boyd, any questions?
Sure. Can you tell me a little bit more about, it's going to be a museum, kind of,
Sure.
some programs going on? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. The property will be branded as a 21C Museum Hotel. I have the president and CEO of 21C, Craig Greenberg, here with me, who can speak further to the positioning and the story behind the brand.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Craig Greenberg, President and CEO of 21C Museum Hotels, and we're very excited about this project here in St. Louis. The concept behind 21C Museum Hotels is that we are a true contemporary art museum. We're featuring rotating curated exhibitions of contemporary art that's free and open to the public 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And so at all of our properties, we are a true museum that also just happens to have great hotels and a great restaurant with us as well, really seeking to become a part of the community's cultural institutions that already exist. We partner with a lot of local nonprofit arts organizations and other art institutions to do joint programming. We provide programming ourselves, whether it's docent tours of our exhibitions or other programming in our gallery spaces that we use to really help energize the communities in which we live. Our first project that we started was in our founder's hometown, my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, where we restored 5 vacant historic buildings, just like here in St. Louis, and through contemporary art really helped revitalize an area of West Main Street in downtown Louisville through contemporary art and hospitality, and we're excited to do the same thing here in St. Louis.
Let me ask you another question while you're there, sir.
Sure.
So it looks like as far as state historic tax credits, you're looking for about 12 million to support the project. What if you don't get the state tax credits? Because, you know, of course, that's pretty much in flux. Will the project still be able to move forward, or will the building just sit there until years later when the General Assembly changed its mind?
That will be a very significant problem if we're not able to. It certainly would have material impact on what we can do with this project. This is a very complicated project. As you all know, the YMCA building is a gorgeous, important building filled with great history. It's also filled with great challenges from a redevelopment perspective, from both the systems, just a code to make it usable for any use, particularly a modern hotel, restaurant, something that's really going to activate those, the immediate vicinity there. There's a lot of historic challenges and just time challenges, and so that is an important part of our financing that we're actively working with the SHPO office right now on that. We have every reason to believe that we will receive state historic tax credits as well.
Okay, I have a question for who's the SLDC staff person on this?
Good morning, Amina Wright.
Good morning, how are you? So it was brought up that they may be seeking sales tax exemption. Is that a separate board bill, or is that within the body of this bill?
Yes, that would be done separately from the tax abatement.
Okay, thank you. So back to the developer. If you don't, so talk me through the next steps.
Just to correct that, it doesn't require another board bill for the sales tax exemption on materials.
Okay, Dale, you want to let everybody know who you are?
Sorry. Dale Ruthsatz. For the sales tax exemption on building materials, it requires action by the LCRA board, but it doesn't require another piece of action by the Board of Aldermen.
Okay, so we really wouldn't know if that activity was going on per se, because it doesn't come over to the Board of Aldermen. Is that what you're saying?
It does not need to come over to the Board of Aldermen, right? It's authorized in any Chapter 99 area by state statute that we can do that.
So my assumption, Dale, is that you guys have already looked at, can you go ahead and stay there, Dale?
I'm here.
The assumption is that you guys have already kind of ran those numbers of the cost savings with the sales tax exemption. So what does that sound like?
Yeah, well, that's built into the financial model that John Ferry, he can address that if you'd like.
Okay, would you please?
In his financial model. John? Sorry.
How it fits into the model in terms of where it...
What's the value of the sales tax exemption?
Oh, the value of the sales tax exemption? So I'm going to have to tell you roughly what the value of the sales tax exemption is. So it's going to be roughly probably 40% of the hard costs, 40 to 50% of the hard costs are going to be materials. So the hard costs are actually listed under infrastructure hard costs instead of construction hard costs for some reason, but it's those would be the hard costs of the 48 million. So take basically half of that and then multiply that by the tax rate, which is going to be about 8%, 8.5%. So, roughly, you're talking about 4 million.
4 million, okay. So, is this...
2.4 million. I just took the full amount. 2 million. Roughly 2 million.
So as this project proceeds and hopefully it gets its state historic tax credits, then the next piece is to do the CID
Timing-wise, I will have to defer to Dale or to the attorney.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Mark Brady. I'm an attorney with the Polsinelli Law Firm working with the 21C Hotel project. And that's correct. The Community Improvement District would be a separate piece of legislation that would come in at a subsequent date.
After everything has pretty much, the state tax credits and all that's in place pretty much?
That's our thought right now, correct?
Okay, and if, never mind, I see it in here. Okay, thank you. Sound like a very, very unique project. Real excited about it. Thank you. No further questions.
Alderwoman Davis.
Can I just add one thing while we're talking about this in regards to this particular hotel? This hotel in some markets rival the such hotels as the Ritz or the Four Seasons because of the quality. And so this is really a stake in the ground for our city to get a 21C.
And I might add, I perhaps misspoke a little bit earlier when I was talking about sales tax. There is a variety of, the sales tax on materials, at least in my personal opinion, when we waive that, is not that large of a hit to the city, given that a high percentage of those building materials are purchased from outside the city. What is of concern to me is when we waive our rebate to the developer, a portion of the sales tax that they're collecting inside the hotel. So as they make sales, what do we call that? The alderman from the 7th brought
Economic activity?
Does that mean like an E? Like
Oh, yeah, or yeah, when we go ahead and we do the
sales tax exemption?
Sales tax exemption, thank you. So those are some concern. That is a far more costly incentive, and this hotel is not requesting that, so that's, I guess I want to just be clear on that. Alderwoman Davis, do you have any questions?
I don't know if I necessarily have any questions. I should share my jealousy with you. Because the Grand En Garde has an element of art for the public to view, and it's changed, and we commissioned some of the local artists for everything that's in the hotel rooms. But this takes it to another level, and I've been hearing about it because I have the Contemporary Art Museum, the Pulitzer, in my ward, and so I've been hearing a lot about this, and I'm very excited. Very good project.
Alderman Ornowitz.
Just a quick question, Alderwoman. Is the building currently vacant now?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought. I was just...
It's been vacant for some time.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Alderman Coatar.
No questions.
Okay, hearing no questions, the chair will entertain a motion on Board Bill
72. I move that we pass Board Bill 72 out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Alderman Boyd?
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis?
Aye.
Alderman Ornowitz?
Aye.
Alderwoman Hubbard?
Aye.
Alderman Coatar?
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer? Alderman Oldenburg? Alderwoman Boyd?
Aye.
Chairman Brody?
Aye.
7 aye votes.
Okay, by our vote, we have passed out of committee Board Bill number 72 with a due pass recommendation. Okay, Alderman from the 10th, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. Sorry for being tardy. My business, most taverns are still in recovery mode after the
I know that's
parade
right.
weekend, so
It was great
we're trying to get things back together. And running late, I figured, unlike other brethren, I would drive the speed limit and get here prudently. So with that, I have Board Bill 69, which is the implementation of the TIF for the Ackerman Toyota project at 44 in Hampton, the old MSD building site. This was actually passed in 2015, push through. The project is complete, and what this is doing here is merely putting it into, or implementing it, making it work. So it's a $5,172,000 plus costs on the TIF. If there's any questions, I have many legal people and more intelligent people than myself with me. But you actually have approved this TIF already. We're merely putting it into action.
Right.
And Councilor Ray, the comptroller has reviewed this and is in support of it.
The comptroller has, we've reviewed this, and we do support this.
Great. Alderman Boyd, do you have any questions of the sponsor?
Yes, Alderman, is there a particular reason why you just can't be on time for your bills to be heard?
Well, unlike, I'm still working on that, like many of you rich people that I serve with down here, but I appreciate the the concern for my tardiness.
No further questions.
Alderwoman Davis.
No questions.
Alderman Ornowitz. Any questions? Alderwoman Hubbard.
No questions.
Alderman Coatar.
No questions.
Alderwoman Boyd has joined us. Alderwoman?
No questions. And I'm sorry, I'm late. I had the wrong time. Yeah. Me and Obama were together.
Hearing no further questions, the chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay. What's the move?
Second.
Do we need a new roll call?
Previous.
Yeah, we do. Well, we got
Oh, no, we do need a new roll call.
She was on that one.
She was, okay, so
Oh.
she snuck in, you snuck in. on the
Previous
last
roll.
one.
Okay, the
There's
previous.
a request for previous roll. Hearing no objections, we'll consider Board Bill number 69 heard and passed out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Thank you for your time and effort. I appreciate it greatly.
Congratulations, Alderman, for your great weekend and the contribution you made to have the Blues win. There we go. Now we're going to go ahead and start with
Thank you.
Thanks.
the Alderman from the 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. What is this, Board Bill 52? Board Bill 52 is seeking a 10-year tax abatement at 90% for a ground-up new construction hotel on what is currently a surface parking lot downtown. The developer is Hawkeye Hotels. Samir Patel from Hawkeye Hotels is here today with us. They're based out of Coralville, Iowa, which is a suburb of Iowa City. You should have a handout in front of you. The proposed, the flag of this hotel is a Moxie by Marriott. Moxie is sort of a hip, new brand targeting millennials. I think it's a limited service, right?
Right.
They all have a pretty cool bar on the first floor. It's a lot of sort of street activity, good big gathering point for the hotel. These have become very popular in many of our competitor cities. Not a very big hotel. It's 154 keys, 12 stories. To put in perspective, it's a surface lot right there at, really right there at 10th and Olive, as you're driving sort of east. 11th and Olive, sorry, 11th and Olive, as
Okay,
you're
that's why I
driving.
couldn't get it. Okay, 11.
Yeah, as you're driving east on Olive, it's on the right side, on the south side of the street. It is, the Hawkeye Hotels also purchased the former Omni Hotel, which fronts Pine Street, right? That's Pine there. Fronts Pine, and they are redeveloping that. They're not here seeking any incentives on that, but that's being reflagged as a La Meridian, which is a higher-end Marriott brand. That's only, I think, about 97 keys. So you'll have two, that hotel's, I think, is that currently online or is that vacant, the old Omni?
We shut it down.
Okay, so it's been shut down for a while. Yeah, we're excited about this project, about $15 million, 16 million, sorry, in construction costs. New construction downtown, which we like to see. We've got a little bit going on over by Ballpark Village, and this would be another new construction project in the downtown corridor. You've got your scores, I believe, from SLDC, giving pretty good marks to this project. It's new construction, so obviously we're not dealing with any historic incentives or anything like that. Happy to answer any questions.
Alderman Boyd, any questions?
No questions right now.
Alderwoman Davis?
I don't have any questions. It's good to see in project financing that everything is in the private and equity category. So this is good.
Alderman Ornowitz?
Good job, Alderman.
Oh, thanks, thanks, Alderman.
Was that a, you're,
No more further questions, I'm sorry.
don't leave us hanging there, Alderman.
Well, I'm still in shock with no extra money.
Alderwoman Hubbard, any questions?
No question.
Alderwoman Boyd,
No question.
hearing no other
Mr.
questions?
Mr. Chairman, actually, I was trying to check something out, the reason I kind of passed around.
Sure,
I
Alderman.
was trying to look at the site. So currently, it's a parking lot.
Correct.
So what happens to the parking? Are we putting a bunch of parking space inside the hotel?
No, it'll be valet only, this hotel. So Hawkeye Hotels is working with we've got a number of surface lots and garages, obviously, in that area. So they're working on a parking plan currently with where they're going to park everybody. I don't know, who did you buy, who did you acquire that lot from? Come on up, Samir. Who did you guys acquire that surface lot from?
So we purchased that lot. It actually came with the Omni Hotel when we bought that back in 2016.
Oh, okay.
And so we just thought it was underutilized. We thought the best and highest use of that lot would be a hotel rather than a 20-stall parking lot. And
Yeah, so it's only 20 spaces currently.
Okay, and you probably said this. Tell me how many rooms in the hotel?
154 keys.
154, and there's no real dedicated parking.
No.
Okay. All right, no further questions.
All right, if there are no other questions, the chair will entertain a motion on Board Bill number 52.
So moved.
Previous roll.
Been moved, seconded, request for previous roll. Hearing no objections, the chair will consider Board Bill number 52 as heard and passed out of committee with a due pass recommendation. For the record, I have received a request from Alderwoman Spencer requesting that we excuse her today for her necessary absence. I think that concludes our business for today. I would like to remind everybody that we have a committee hearing next Tuesday. It was not originally on the list of meetings that I've had. It will be at 9 o'clock, so it's next Tuesday instead of Wednesday. We'll take up several bills that we're running out of time for, that we weren't able to get in here today, but we're hopefully getting them done in time for us to vote on them before our summer break. When we come back, we hope to have, after the summer, we hope to have some work done on the affordable housing strategy. If there's nothing else, the chair will consider today's meeting as adjourned. Thank you.